Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating article that looks at a massive shift happening in modern households right now. For our educational discussion today, we're looking at how we're moving away from this exhausting culture of optimization parenting, where we try to curate an absolutely flawless childhood, and shifting toward a much more empowering goal, raising prepared, capable, and resilient kids. All right, let's just jump right in.
Look, if you're feeling totally exhausted by modern parenting, you are definitely not alone. For years now, the culture has essentially pushed us to just do more enrichment, more intervention, way more pressure to get every single little moment perfectly right. But parents today are starting to ask a brilliant and honestly slightly scary question based on this article. Are we accidentally creating dependence out of love? Because of course we want to protect our kids, but when we swoop in and rescue them too quickly from every little frustration, we might actually be completely preventing them from discovering their own strength.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the new priority. Second, defining capability and resilience. Third, building capability through daily chores. Fourth, risk, struggle, and consequences. And finally, number 5, the immense relief of good enough parenting.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the new parenting priority and how we are shifting the paradigm. The article highlights a pretty stark contrast happening right now. The old way of thinking was all about curating a perfect childhood. We're talking an endless cycle of optimization, nonstop enrichment, and total protection. And honestly, that tends to create kids who are incredibly busy but not always capable. The new priority, though, it focuses on preparing for real life. It's all about equipping kids with real-world skills, actual independence, and true resilience. The goal is no longer a perfect childhood, you guys. The goal is to prepare them for life. Moving right along to Section 2, defining capability and resilience. What does that actually look like in the real world? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is how we define capability. A capable child is not a child who never struggles, not at all. Rather, it's a child who is learning exactly how to handle struggle through practice. Capability means getting in there and doing real, imperfect things. It isn't built by just watching from the sidelines. It's built exclusively through hands-on practice. It sends this incredibly simple but powerful message. You are not helpless. You are learning. And right alongside capability is resilience. Basically, that's the ability to recover, adapt, and just keep going when something is hard. A resilient kid can lose a game without completely falling apart or hear the word no and actually survive the discomfort. But listen closely to this part because the article makes a great point. Resilience does not come from coldness. No way. It comes from a really vital balance of support and challenge. It's the profound difference between abandoning a child in their struggle and coaching them through it. And as you'll see, capability beautifully scales as a child grows. It's literally a chronological timeline of practice. Think about it. A toddler builds capabilities simply by putting their blocks in a basket. Then a young child scales that up to setting the dinner table. A tween learns it by making scrambled eggs or keeping track of their own homework, and a teen builds it by handling real heavy-duty responsibilities and managing their own time. It grows step by step by step. Which brings us to Section 3, capability through daily chores. This is all about building identity and confidence at home. Now, if you've ever completely dreaded cooking with your kids because of the inevitable massive mess, consider this perspective shift from our source material. Cooking together is literally one of the absolute best ways to build capable kids. It's not just making a meal, right? It inherently teaches reading, math, safety, patience, sequencing, responsibility, and independence, the whole shebang. A young child stirs, a tween makes a sandwich, a teen preps a whole family meal. Yes, obviously it takes way longer. Yes, it's going to be messy, but every single time they do this, they're building real-world confidence. Because when children are actually allowed to help, serve, and clean, it isn't just about getting a tidy house for us. Chores are deeply tied to a child's identity. When a kid wipes a table or feeds the family dog, they are developing these profound internal beliefs. I am capable, I am needed, I can contribute. They learn that they're an essential working part of the family team, not just a guest at a hotel being served. And honestly, that belief changes absolutely everything. Okay, moving to Section 4, risk, struggle, and consequences. Let's talk about navigating that intense urge to rescue. I think this is arguably the hardest part for any caregiver. When a child struggles, our immediate gut instinct is to rescue, like jumping in and tying their shoes immediately just to save time and tears.
But a supporting approach, that sounds entirely different. It sounds like, hey, try the first loop. I'll help you with the second. This coaching method breaks the task into smaller, manageable chunks. It empowers them without just leaving them entirely out to dry.
Or think about when siblings fight. Rescuing looks like stepping right in and playing judge, essentially solving the conflict for them. Supporting, on the other hand, looks like asking, what can you say to repair this? You're acting as a guide here. You're providing a safe environment for them to learn healthy risk-taking, actual problem-solving, and assessing their own limits.
So, the big question, how do we stop ourselves from rescuing way too fast? Well, the article provides this brilliant mental checklist for parents to use whenever a child hits a roadblock. Number 1, pause before stepping in. Just take a breath. Number 2, ask yourself, is my child actually unsafe right now or just uncomfortable? Number 3, ask, am I helping or am I rescuing? And number 4, offer the absolute smallest support possible. Maybe that just means sitting nearby or maybe demonstrating the task just once. But what about when they just throw their hands up and want to quit? You know, when your kid crosses their arms and yells, I can't. The article gives us this exact, really great, shame-free script to try. You just say, you can't do it yet. Let's try the first step together. Or you might try saying, I'm not going to do it for you, but I will totally help you learn. See what that does? It validates that the effort, the struggle, is simply part of learning without you rushing in to magically fix it. Now, natural consequences are for sure one of the most effective ways to build responsibility. Forget a jacket? Well, you feel cold. Leave a toy outside in the rain? It gets dirty. Spend all your allowance right away? You don't have money for other fun things later. The absolutely brilliant thing here is what the lesson comes directly from life itself. It doesn't come from parental anger or some long lecture. Life is the teacher. But, and this is a big but, natural consequences really only work if we can manage our own reactions. We have to completely resist the urge to say, see, I told you so. Instead, the article suggests adopting a really calm, empathetic tone. Something like, man, that's disappointing. What can you do differently next time? This actually helps the child process the natural consequence and make a concrete plan for the future, rather than just feeling scolded and shutting down. And all of this brings us to our final section, Section 5, Good Enough Parenting and Releasing the Pressure. If you take away literally anything from our educational analysis today, please let it be this. Children do not need a flawless parent. They need a parent who keeps showing up. Period. Good enough parenting means you don't have to say the absolute perfect therapeutic thing every single time, or magically turn every mundane moment into some high-level enrichment activity. Actually, releasing yourself from that exhausting performance-based parenting is far healthier and way more effective for building your child's strength. So let's summarize the core thesis we've been unpacking from this article. The old, totally unattainable goal was raising perfectly behaved, hyper-protected children living in a highly curated childhood. We are leaving that behind. The empowering new goal, raising capable, resilient children in a prepared childhood. We actually want them to know how to struggle, how to fail, and most importantly, how to keep going. So what does this mean for you right after this explainer? What are the actionable steps? Listen, you do not need a complete parenting overhaul tonight. Just start small with some really low-stakes actions. Give them just one new responsibility. Let them help with one meal this week. Let them try to solve one small problem before you step in. And, maybe the hardest one, let them feel one disappointment without rushing to fix it for them. Because honestly, that is how capability truly grows. And that's how we give them the ultimate gift of believing that they can actually do hard things. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to reflect on today, based on our discussion. Are you curating a perfect childhood, or are you raising a prepared child? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this fresh perspective empowers both you and your kids. See you next time.